Hello, orchid addicts of all various colors and shapes. It is I, Leonard, and welcome back to the top of the world. As you can see, this is my, so to say, new house in the background. And yeah, in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing you a bunch of new stuff, which is rightfully happening in the spring. So yeah, this is the new house, and this is the old house. You can see it's a bit of an improvement, so yeah. So yeah, we're just changing the street lights over here, as you can see. No biggie. Bye. Well, yeah, I said that was a no biggie, but frankly, for the past few days, I've been doing a lot of garden work, which includes pruning the fruit trees, which I have a bunch of, and raking the old grass. So today, my arms, for the past couple of days, my arms are feeling so tired that it feels like I have like bricks wrapped on my arms, so every time I try to lift something it's extra hard. But funny thing that happened today is there's a little bit of a wind going on, and when there's a little bit of a wind there's this little problem when my electricity in the house completely goes out. So me and my family were basically sitting ducks. It is really funny because when the electricity goes out, this is the perfect time to read a good book. So here I have my Russian book of astrologics, and I will not be surprised if the electricity comes around a bit later today. I'm going to be back watching videos about the way the solar system has formed and all that stuff. So the combination of astrology and astronomy is a tasty one. But in any case, today I'm drinking this coffee, which is not made by a fancy schmancy machine. So we basically have a stove or furnace. I don't know how you call it in English. My vocabulary is not that massive, but yeah, it's kind of really pleasant to make your breakfast on the a furnace or whatever, because the stove, which is electric, is not working right now. So in this day's video, as I promised you, I want to show you a bunch of new things. And as you can see, I have very many orchids surrounding me right now. So I want to show you all of the new growths and all of the new delicious stuff which is happening on around here. Just throw the book to the side. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this little showcase. I'm going to try to make it a quick one. And by the way, before I start, Roger, if you're watching this channel is called Lion's Garden. Don't you know how to spell lions? You cheeky bugger. Well, in any case, if I ever move to France, you can call me Leon's Garden or whatever. Cheeky bastard. But the answers to my questions were very satisfying and on point. So yeah, what do we start with over here? I'm gonna try to make this video in a single turn, because I'm quite honestly a bit tired trying to stick together 100 clips in the editing software. So here I have my Oncidium type, which I recently reported. I'm going to have all the names pop up on the screen in case I forget some of them. So yeah, you can see the growth is extending really nicely, but the orchid is a bit shriveled. Hopefully, it's going to start producing roots pretty soon, but the pot is still, moist, as you can see. And here is my Oncidium Twinkle Cinnamon variety. The sphagnum is drying out pretty fast, which is a good thing, so the basis of the orchid wouldn't, rot off. But as you can see, the new growths, which this orchid has 3 of, are extending really pleasantly. And if that which Roger says is true, that his twinkles start blooming every 10 months, this one should be blooming around Christmas time. And here I have my Miltonia Honolulu actually, and this is an orchid I ordered from the Lithuanian nursery I have featured multiple times, and this plant has always struggled, and by the look of it you can definitely see it has been struggling. When I ordered it, it stayed without being reported for quite a while because it had its blooms on. That was a mistake, so it lost a lot of its roots, and when I reported it, I suppose it was overported, or I watered it like a moron, so many of its new growths rotted off. I think this is one of the new growths which has managed to survive, and the Soda bulb is definitely not comparing to what it needs to be. I thought I'm going to have only 2 new growths, but I have 3, which is absolutely splendid. Maybe this plant will bush up quite nicely this year. Here's one growth. Here's another growth, as you can see, and here's another growth which is just emerging, which is utterly wonderful. Now I'm going to have to pan around quite a bit to show you all the splendid marvels I have going on over here. Hopefully the light is also efficient. This is the noon right now, so the light from this window isn't exactly, beaming on the table like the previous videos with the wonderful gold rays. So this is my Bellara, Alisara, whatever you call it. It's really funny because when people, those orchid scientists or whatever, change the orchid names because of the various genetic researches and all that stuff, all the hybrids have their names changed, and you can never really properly get used to it. And the same actually has ironically happened to one of my best friends. His name was basically roughly translated into English as Mr. Swamp, so now he has changed his surname to Mr. Spring or River, so he's never going to be a spring fellow to me. He's always going to be a swamp monster for me. I'm refusing to call him by the new surname because that's not how I know him as. So yeah, this is my Alisara Bellara whatever Tahoma Glacier, and this is a splendid orchid, and this is the last year's growth, and as you can see it lost all of its leaves, and I don't know exactly why, but its root system is splendid. This is a very healthy orchid. You have some weeds going on over here. So this I do believe last autumn it created 2 new growths for the first time in its lifetime under my care, and as you can see there's a surprise going on here. Props to you if you noticed it before time. So yeah, here we have some 2 new growths. They're looking delicious. They are nearing maturity. They're not exactly as plump as the previous ones. So yeah, somebody just tried to call me. Not gonna have any interruptions, I am busy. Okay, so yeah, these growths are nearing maturity, and as you can see it is creating a wonderful, delightful flower space. So yeah, you can expect some big amazing blooms from this one going on. So what is next? What do I present next? I suppose, yeah, let's just start with the closest ones. I'm going to have to clean the table off in a few. So here is my Cycnodes Wine Delight, my most prized Catasetum type orchid. I recently reported it. Of course I have that video in my channel if you're interested in that, and as you can see it's all plump and healthy, and the new growth has once again begun to extend. It stalled a little bit once I reported it, but now it's picking up its speed again. As you can see, there are some discolorations on the leaves, and in my experience on Catasetum type orchids that's very normal, because one of the reasons it could be happening, see, the orchid is creating a lot of happy sap on its leaves, and Catasetum types love a lot of light and a lot of heat. So when you leave your new growths in a high exposure, this happy sap can heat up in the sun so much that it burns the leaves and causes minimal discoloration. So definitely need to take that into account. So yeah, I have a lot of files coming out, but I don't exactly want to start with them. This is the smallest division of the Cymbidium orchid, which I very recently reported. It was a fun reporting, and as you can see, yeah, it's continuing to lose its leaves. That's not surprising, but its new growth is coming on like a mighty bloke, so I'm very excited for that. Hopefully it will have the strength to actually grow to a decent size, but judging by this small division's offspring, which is this humunga danga, as Maria Younger says, Cymbidium orchid with the two big humongous growths, it should have all the capacities to impress me. As you can see, these growths have not extended a lot since when I reported it, which was some time ago, but I have full confidence that they will pick up their pace again and, you know, grow on, which is what I wanted to do. So I'm going to take a little bit of a moment to reorganize. Okay, so the table has been cleared out a little bit. I'm going to take another sip of my coffee. For those who are wondering, you know, how I feel, because yeah, I've been sharing in a couple of videos that I'm not exactly in the best place in my life right now. Every month gets better. But coffee really helps in the morning in any case. And I'm not particularly a coffee type of person, but this is delicious. So okay, I have my dusty big old dendrobium. The closest resemblance I know it to be is the Comet King, but it is not quite that. The bloom color is different. And the problem with the store-bought Phalaenopsis which don't have a tag, even if you identify them more or less correctly, you always have the potential of being mistaken. Because frequently when you have a pretty hybrid, the orchid growers develop a lot of very similar hybrids because, well, heck, that's a really beautiful form. So these kind of Dendrobium nobile type orchids there have a great variety of very similar breeds, so you can't really ever be fully confident. But as you can see, it has some delightful, juicy new growths coming on this plant. Let's count them. This is 1, the small one is 2, this large one is 3. Here we have a yellow leaf, and here we have the 4th one. And here I have the last one, which is the 5th one. As you can see, there's a little bit of a Constantine situation going on the leaves. So if you notice that on your dendrobiums, they need more water. And this orchid is a vigorous grower, so I will definitely have to water it quite frequently because I want its growths to extend to a very large size. And some of the more experienced nobile type dendrobium growers can, you know that these ones actually not only grow into big bushy monsters, but they also can grow into pretty tall monsters as well. So that is going down. Camera is shaking, but I shall not. So here I have my dendrobium, what was it called? Firebird. Yes. Something Firebird. So as you can see, this is a floppy orchid. It's quite annoying, and as I have quite obviously figured out, this orchid would prefer to be grown mounted, so all of its pseudobulbs could hang down low. And it is creating a lot of new growths. The minus with this orchid is that I need to port it a little bit more deeper because many of these growths are actually keikis. So when they're producing the roots, they're above the surface of the medium so that it can't get properly hydrated. But as you can see, there are a couple of new growths coming on over here, and I hope they are going to be able to extend to quite a large size. But in any case, this orchid should be mounted eventually. There's some suspicious discoloration going on the leaves. I hoped that my virus Phalaenopsis have not actually infected this one. Well, that's always a risk, but you know, we are going to just have to see the future development of this orchid. So, let's move on to the peasant orchid. So all of my Phalaenopsis, they are at the beginning of their growth season, so they definitely are trying to create a bunch of new growths. Here is my peach Phalaenopsis, which I also recently reported. It has a brilliant new leaf going on, and this is my light yellow birthday Phalaenopsis, and as you can see, this new leaf which has started growing somewhere in the winter, it's pretty big, but it has received some sun damage. I have moved it and you can actually see the place where the leaf started growing in a less sun exposure. So there's this anthocyanin purplish pigment, and here there's almost a line where it stops and the leaf is growing a bit more brighter. So I have moved it, so hopefully it's not going to continue burning up. And as you will notice with a lot of my Phalaenopsis, a lot of them are burnt, and that's a minus that I haven't really properly figured out, because Phalaenopsis, they like a lot of heat, but they like low sunlight, so that's a bit of a bugger. Here I have my novelty, summer blooming Phalaenopsis, so to say. He is my sweet memory Leodora, and this is a perfect candidate to reflect you how you should not treat your Phalaenopsis. This one is burnt all over the place, but hopefully I have learned my lesson. And this spotting over here, I do believe it's also sun damage or maybe some deficiencies going on. But as you can see, it's creating a delicious new growth. So with proper water and more shade conditions, this should be, you know, a really healthy growing plant. The good thing about Phalaenopsis, they will all eventually replace their leaves, but it's more clever to, you know, not spoil the leaves to begin with. If you're gonna do it properly. And this is my Phalaenopsis Frenchie's Plastic Yellow, which is essentially a hybrid between the Hieroglyphica and Amboinensis. It has a very beautiful flower, and I ordered it from the Lithuanian nursery. You can see it has also a very wonderful new leaf going on over here. This is a pretty big plant, but I cannot see it having any flower spikes. Hopefully this summer it's going to put on a show. Now, let's show you some of the least glamorous novelty Phalaenopsis I got going on here. Yeah, here I have my Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1. You can see this is a small orchid and it's fairly battered. Right now it's creating a new delightful leaf, and this species can actually grow to be with quite large leaves, so hopefully in the future it's gonna grow some pretty big new leaves and it's going to lose these battered old ones. This orchid has been mistreated. I feel a bit guilty right now, but what is that is. Here is my Phalaenopsis. Oh god! Phalaenopsis venosa. So yeah, this is a bit of a wonky orchid, but it came to me like that. This is its new leaf. I don't know why I'm actually showcasing this one to you. And oh, look, you can see it has a new root going on. So yeah, it's a healthy orchid. It's beginning to grow its new roots, and hopefully it's going to bloom and create some more leaves this year. This is my Phal Iren Dobkin. This is a basic white Phalaenopsis and Ascocentrum miniatum or Vanda miniatum. Oh, the renaming again. Hybrid. This is a very exciting type of a hybrid, but as I have noticed, Phals and Vandas don't mix very well, so their offspring are often quite finicky, and that's probably because you're mixing a very high light orchid with a very low light orchid. So yeah, as you can see, it is a slow grower, but it's pulling on its new leaf quite nicely. It's also virused, as I do believe, but the new leaf is yet to show some distinct signs of it being sick. But I might need to throw this one away in the future, which is sad. This is my Phalaenopsis pulchara. Pultra actually. So yeah, you can see its new leaf is extending on quite nicely. I recently reported it, and this new leaf was a bit smaller, so as you can see it's not stalling, it's appreciating its new, you know, medium, and it's pulling on quite nicely. And now one of the most exciting members of this Phalaenopsis bunch is my Phalaenopsis violacea forma cerulean or indigo. And as you can see, this is a splendid healthy plant. This is arguably one of my favorite orchids actually, and the thing I wanted to show you about this, it's growing a new little spike. It's growing out from the, you know, leaf below it, so it's you know, like a snake wrapping around the stem of the actual orchid. This plant is not creating any new buds on its old flower spikes, which it should do, but the sign that it's creating a new spike is definitely a shower that it's going into its new growth. Phalaenopsis violacea is, by, you know, all data, actually a very hot grower, but it needs complete shade. So hopefully in the future, you know, when my new orchid dungeon is done and maybe an actually winter greenhouse, spoilers, is made, I'm going to be able to keep my novelty Phalaenopsis in hotter temperatures, which I'm a big fan of, the novelty Phalaenopsis. So what else? Here I have my Phalaenopsis valentini actually. Nothing much is happening on it besides a burnt leaf. Cough cough, but you can see it has a multitude of flower spikes, and it is currently creating some new buds on one of its largest spikes, which is exciting. I love the novelty Phalaenopsis hybrids because they often have a glorious fragrance. So yeah, I do believe we can go on to talk about the Cattleya type orchids. Alrighty then, the table has been cleaned off and I need another sip of the coffee. Delightful. Okay, as you can see, the Cattleya collection, which I'm going to go through, is not as monstrous. Okay, let's start with the Rhyncholalia digbyana, and as you can see, it's having two growths over here coming on. They started somewhere in the middle of the winter, I do believe, but they have pulled on quite nicely. Since the beginning of March, they have really sprung into growth, and they're actually going to be comparable size to the previous largest leaves on this orchid. I am very excited. Maybe this time around we are going to finally receive some blooms. And here's one of my less glamorous Cattleya types. It's Guanmao City, I do believe. So yeah, as you can see, I'm going to have to make a video pretty soon because this orchid is neglected and it needs to be potted up right now. As you can see, it's extending its new growths right now, so this is just about the best time. And you can see there's this big bump over here. It looks like a bloody onion or something. So yeah, I hope this orchid is going to extend a new growth from here. This orchid is pretty sad. I don't know why, but it created this wonky new growth, which looks honestly quite intimidating. So yeah, the leaf developed this black necrotic spot. I don't believe it's related to fungi. I actually think it's either, you know, sunburn, which has, you know, basically killed off the whole leaf, or also again the calcium deficiency. This orchid is in a small pot, so you know, you can imagine that it has a hard time holding on to nutrition as good as it should. So yeah, this leaf is going to fall off. We're going to have a crooked suitable, but in any case it's going to look better without the leaf. So that's about that. It is oftentimes when you order new orchids, they look, you know, they go through a stress period which can affect their appearances. And most of us passionate orchid growers, we probably have one or two Cattleyas which look absolutely manky in our collections. You know, raise your hands if you know how it is. He is my Cattleya, what is it called? lobata, not to be confused with labiata. This is lobata, variation cerulean, and this is a pretty vigorous orchid which I purchased as a small seedling. You can see it also has a couple of its leaves cut off because they started developing the black necrotic spots, but they have wonderful pseudobulbs going on which are going to help, you know, store the nutrients for the new growths. This is its new growth, and look how, you know, large in comparison it is with the previous ones. This is almost nearing mature size, I do believe, right now. I do doubt if it is going to create a spike. There is no evidence of sheath, but yeah, this is exciting. It's always, you know, enjoyable to look at this orchid, but it will have, you know, a long phase in front of it before it turns into a bushy, glorious orchid. And he is my, what is this called? This is, I do believe, the Cattleya Voltaire, and this is a bushy seedling orchid. And now, as you can see, it is in small bark with a little bit of sphagnum moss. So in accordance to Roger, I do believe I have, you know, gotten the nail on its head. So yeah, it has a new growth going on over here. It always created 2 new growths, but right now I can only see 1. This orchid better create another new growth, or else I'm going to be angry at it. So yeah, hopefully this new growth is going to put on, you know, a very large size. The downside of putting multiple new growths, you know, on per year is that you have less energy to grow them as big as you would, you know, usually. I almost missed this little orchid. This is one of the more exciting for me personally developments. This is another seedling of my Cattleya Voltaire, which is a hybrid between CG Roebling and Doviana. It should be exciting. I received 2 in the same pot when I ordered them from the orchid garden. As you can see, this big new leaf is its latest growth and is definitely pushing on quite a nice size, and it has these 2 new growths going on over here. So yeah, this is an exciting development when this, you know, seedling orchid is creating 2 new directions of growth. Is there a third? There might be. Look, there's a third direction of growth. Is it sincerely feeling so healthy? Oh, goody goody, this is exciting. It's really funny, its sibling is creating, instead of 2 new growths, a single one. And this one, which usually created just a single new growth, and rightfully so, you can see it's a fair amount less bushy than its sibling counterpart. But yeah, this one is creating multiple new growths, so we are going to have to see how it develops in the future. As you can see, again, calcium deficiency necrotic spots. So yeah, that's my biggest weakness. That's what happens when you use rainwater when you water your orchids. It doesn't have bloody any calcium, so you have to rely on fertilizer. Okay, here I have my Cattleya purpurosa, which is a very manky orchid. Now, I do believe, yeah, it's a very, you know, large growing orchid. Here's one of its new leaves. It also lost of some of its previous pseudobulbs, so when I'm going to report it pretty soon, I'm going to have to take them off. But as you can see, it has a pretty healthy root system, even though it's crawling out of its pot. And yeah, here you can see it has a new growth, which is, you know, quite meaty. So hopefully this is going to, you know, be quite a, you know, pleasant new addition on top of this orchid. And he is my Rhyncholaleo Cattleya Siao-Cing Beauty Vicky. This is a red Cattleya orchid which I absolutely adore. This orchid grows like a weed, and not in the sense that it grows really fast, in the sense that it grows really tall. And as you can see, the bases of these pseudobulbs, they are pretty thin, so I had to tie it on with this floral wire or whatever it's called, so it wouldn't fall apart. Because look at the bases of this pseudobulb, you can see it was beginning to, you know, fall off the plant quite literally. And this is the previous year's leaf. As you can see, it has developed a fairly red tinge with a you know, lighter green speck in the middle. Yeah, this orchid has been receiving too much, you know, sunlight, and you can see the color of its leaves are pretty green, so that can indicate to you that your orchid doesn't need as much sunlight as, you know, other members of its family. The darker the leaves on an average basis, the less sunlight orchid needs, because it can produce more energy with a single leaf because it has more chlorophyll going on. And on the back of this leaf there's this strange distortion. I don't know what it is, but it isn't spreading, and on the surface of the actual leaf it materializes as this lighter spot. It is a bit of an anomaly. Maybe this is the beginning signs of calcium deficiency. I wouldn't be surprised. But what I wanted to show here is that it has a couple of eyes by its latest growth, two to be exact. They're quite above the surface, but I do believe they're going to be creating some new growths. You can't see right now that they're pushing on, but as I have been observing it, they have swelled up, and from the keen-eyed orchid growers, this is a definite sign that the orchid is getting ready to create some new growths. And I do believe this is more or less that all that I wanted to show to you. I very much doubt that many people have stayed, you know, so far into the video, but if you have, thank you a lot. I hope you find this interesting. And this is my, what is this called? Brassocatleya amethyst. This is a Brassavola cuculata and Cattleya purpurata hybrid, and as you can see, this is one of its parents, and it's, you know, very different from it. This looks much like cuculata, and frequently when you hybridize orchids, the traits of the one of the parents dominate the traits of the other, and here you can see the cuculata has definitely taken the driver's position in the car. As the spring was beginning, it started putting out new growths, new roots, which is exciting, and as you can see here, buried amongst the sphagnum moss, this dark purple new growth is coming on. So yeah, maybe this year we are going to have a new leaf extending on, which is even taller than this one, and perhaps it will be blooming size. Alright, I think we have reached the end of this April orchid collection update. So in any case, give me the thumb if you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more stuff similar to this.